Well, if we're talking about the sport industry, I think that YouTube is somehow a bit underestimated in terms of potential.
In this episode of A Guy with a Scarf, I want to talk about YouTube. I think YouTube very often, even if extremely popular, is a bit underestimated in some way, and especially in our industry, sports and media. And to talk about it, I need someone that is more expert than me. And who else than Paola Marinone, CEO and co-founder of BuzzMyVideos. Ciao, Paola.
Hello, Carlo. Hello, everyone.
So I know you have 4 recipes for a sport organization, and it's 4 recipes, sport organization on YouTube in 23 or at the end of 2023 and beyond. Tell us.
Well, if we're talking about the sport industry, I think that YouTube is somehow a bit underestimated in terms of potential. Although, like we have seen as well, like in the last few happenings in the industry, that YouTube is actually becoming more and more important. For example, like the primetime channels that they launched with NFL in the US. There's more development as well coming in from the platform per se. But more than anything, actually, YouTube has a massive audience of any type of demographic in any country in the world. So it's definitely not to be forgotten from the sport industry. When we're saying like the 4 recipes for the sport industry, I think that it's important to, if you're in the sport industry, being a league or like a right holder or a sport club, to really think about asking yourself the questions. It doesn't always apply, but there are a lot of questions that are, well, 4 questions at least that need to be asked to yourself, because there is potential for you to be making like new reach in terms of audience or new revenue in terms of money at the end of the day. So it's important at least to ask yourself the question and then maybe act on one or many of those 4 points.
Before diving into the 4 points, I was thinking there is maybe a dual way of approaching things. So on one end, you can say, I have a strategy, and let me see how I can play with my strategy on different platforms. On the other end, and maybe you have to do both. You also have to look at a platform like YouTube and maybe deeply understand what are the potential and evolving potential, because I mean, there are new features, new ways of using it from, I don't know, creators. So I think it's both evolving the strategy depending on the potential of every platform, but also trying to stick to a strategy and use the channel because clearly you're doing investment when you're using or creating content for a channel.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, YouTube, the fact that there's the audience over there, definitely any right owner or like any sport organization is always, you need to try to understand what is the place of social media in general and YouTube specifically from the content perspective. So consider that it might be tactical, it might be strategic, but ultimately, even if you're thinking the biggest OTT, not just in sport, in entertainment, they're all using social media and YouTube, for example, although it sounds like very counterintuitive, they use YouTube to actually create new reach, to then transform the reach into and awareness into potentially new customers to get a lower customer acquisition cost. So it might be tactical or strategic. It might be a revenue generation activity, or it might be literally like from a marketing perspective, getting a better customer acquisition cost as an OTT. So it might be either way. The key important part, I think, is that as a sport organization, you can't forget about asking yourself those questions, because those are very important as we speak right now.
Okay, so recipe number 1.
Recipe number 1 is for literally everybody, big organizations or small. It does work for everybody, and that's YouTube Shorts. I know I've been like hammering on the topic, but the numbers I've seen with working with multiple organizations, from the smallest to the biggest, are unseen. For like, I've been at YouTube and Google from 2006, so I've been there for a little while, and I've never seen those numbers in my life. millions and millions of new users coming to your content because it's considered more entertainment, and then they can actually become like long life users, lifelong users, sorry. And that is a must-have. It's not even questionable. It's like leverage whatever you have in terms of shorts, repurpose content, create new content, do whatever you want, as far as you do a lot of them, because there is real reach to be made in different countries, in new audiences, and that's exactly what sport needs as we speak right now.
And is it a case in which quantity beats quality or frequency beats quality, sadly?
Well, at this point in time, the quality is important, but not as much. And this is not because quality is not important per se, but it's important. It's not as important because the users are not mature enough, and the market is not mature enough. There's still there's not a real match between demand and offer of content. So really, quantity and frequency is winning big time compared to the quality. It's not going to be that way forever. At a certain point, the users are going to demand more quality, and therefore that's going to change. But now it's really a matter of really double down on quantity and frequency. And that really pays off.
Okay, so point number 2.
Point number 2 is live streaming. It's going to be a big deal for YouTube for 2024 from a product perspective and from a revenue perspective. When you think of live streaming, it could be many different things. It doesn't need to be the live streaming of the game on the pitch eventually. It might, but it might not be that one. It might be even a live commentary of it. It might be every single thing that you're doing as an organization as live streaming. Users, especially the core fans, love the live streaming. And what is important from a YouTube perspective is that there are a lot of new products that they are launching and features to allow both managing the live streaming better, but as well and especially monetize the live streaming way better. Before, until basically now, there was just one ad at the very beginning, so basically it was really not monetizing properly. Now there's the option of many different ad slots. There is the possibility of a content edit just for live streaming. That means that it's really important, especially for organizations that are doing a lot of live streamings. There are some organizations like that's sports organizations that are doing very many live streaming on the events. Those ones, for example, they are the perfect match for this, and I highly recommend to consider live streaming for monetization, especially and growth. Watch time as well is another big deal for live streaming. Usually, watch time is way higher than any other type of video. Therefore, the algorithm loves it. So that's another real impact.
And basically, live streaming is not something new, but you're saying the way can I say YouTube is relaunching it? I don't know if it's proper. But with new features, new way to monetize, it may accelerate the adoption.
100%. That's going to be a big deal for YouTube, and that's why they created the new monetization opportunities, the new integration with different softwares, so you can have multiple ad spots. You might have 1 hour or 2 hours or 3 hours events, and you might have many different ads in between, and you can just fit it whenever it suits it. So it doesn't need to be everywhere, but cool. That's a big difference.
So point number 3.
This is an evergreen. Highly forgotten, let's say, from the sport industry. Archive maximization. Archive is gold, basically, and all sports organizations of every kind, they have massive archives, and they usually sit there on their YouTube channel as a repository. YouTube is a search engine as much as Google, and that's the second one in the world. So make sure you get the most out of the archive by video SEO so that your content is found. Repurposing the content in terms of working with the content you already have and just doing highlights even from content that is from 10 years ago, or uploading full matches of of ages ago that were iconic, or as well working with the content creators that are expanding and amplifying your reach to new audiences. But definitely archive maximization is a must-have, because it's really new reach and new revenue, and potentially really nice revenue.
To be honest, I see people doing it like on Instagram. I don't want to say a lot, but quite substantially. You may be right that I think because of the way the feed works in a different way, maybe it's less done on YouTube, I guess.
Well, generally, everybody think from the sport industry more about like the game that is happening, which is fair enough. I mean, but if you're thinking sport as music, like the new game that is happening now is like the new album for an artist, and that's exactly the same. If you think about that, think about a massive artist, think about Madonna, let's say. If you think about the launch of the new album, the numbers that she's going to get on YouTube, for example, are never going to be on the new album as big as the sum of the whole career long of albums she did. So that's the power of the archive. And that's exactly the same for sports, the sports industry. Like every single club right owner, they have massive archive and history, and that needs to be used, because that is money just sitting there. And of course, the latest game is going to be the most important to win on the pitch. But the money that they're going to get from that archive is going to be there now, next week, the week after, next year, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm. And I was thinking more with music at the number of vinyl records I'm still buying these days. So sorry. Okay,
so you know what I'm talking about.
Exactly, number 4.
And number 4, that's it's about OTTs or YouTube on the paywall. OTT is definitely a big deal, but the key thing is OTT is not for everyone. I think it's fair for every big sport organization to ask itself, do we need an OTT or not? Yes or no? Can we afford it? Can we do something with it? And can we maintain it and actually make it make it thrive? I think these are the key questions for OTTs. There is one thing that usually sport organizations do not think of when they're resonating about this, which is you can actually have YouTube membership, which is basically the OTT of YouTube. You can put everything you want under a paywall. Now, this is not for everyone. I would see this working especially for big organizations that have a global audience, and for some content they want to actually give it to everyone immediately at no cost. It's not about the big right owners that are like dealing with every on the top events with broadcaster. But still, if you're resonating about your content under a paywall, it could be through the OTT, or it could be like strictly on the paywall on YouTube, where the audience is already there. So you don't have to push it from one side to the other, which is very hard and costly.
To be honest, I saw this many years ago coming out from YouTube, the first version. I said, okay, all us vendors of OTT, we're out of business, and no, it didn't happen. So I'm a bit skeptical about number 4. But okay, just quickly as we wrap up, I know you have BuzzMyVideos. You also launched Full Score. Quick summary of what you're doing with YouTube these days.
So we do all things YouTube, from video SEO to YouTube Shorts creation, everything with technology. So we make the technology do the boring stuff, but very important ones. And we add, especially with the sport industry, we add a bit of strategy and data-driven suggestions. It could be either done through our team with a premium offer, like enterprise offer, or through Full Score, which is full self-service. If you want to do the optimization on your own.
I'm a client. I am a client.
A happy client, I hope. And so even fullscore.digital, you go there and just do you get a very nice YouTube actionable audit, and you see what needs to be done to improve. There's already integrated AI that it will tell you how to do it. You just say yes or no, and then it goes straight away. Or the enterprise model, which is more like we are going to do everything through our technology plus the service on top. So we make it happen for you.
So I mean, just to be clear, because I started using it at the beginning, I wasn't sure. It's not only like an analytics platform because you analyze a lot of data, you give recommendation, but on most of them, depending on API access from YouTube, you can take batch actions on thousands of video if needed, or hundreds, or 2 or 1, right? And in certain cases, like I just did it this morning for the last 20 videos, I was away for a bit, so I didn't do it for the last month. I think it's very effective. Not to do a promo, but I really like it. So thank you, Paola, and let's see what in 6 months, if anything, the 4 points are still valid.
Let's see. Let's talk in 6 months' time.
Okay. Ciao, Paola. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.